The Forgotten Orphanage. Prologue. Hidden deep within the woods, the remains of the Elmwood Orphanage stood as a grim reminder of a dark past. Once a refuge for abandoned children, it was abruptly shut down in the 1950s after a series of mysterious disappearances and deaths. The townspeople of Elmsville spoke in hushed tones about the orphanage, claiming it was haunted by the restless spirits of the children who perished there. Despite the warnings, a group of paranormal investigators decided to explore the orphanage, hoping to uncover the truth behind the legends. Chapter 1. The Arrival. On a foggy autumn evening, the team, consisting of lead investigator Sarah, tech expert Alex, historian David, and medium Lily, arrived at the dilapidated gates of Elmwood Orphanage. The building loomed ominously in the fading light, its windows dark and broken. As they set up their equipment, the air grew heavy with an unspoken tension. Sarah, determined to capture evidence of the paranormal, led the group inside. The orphanage was eerily quiet, the only sounds being the creaking of the floorboards and the distant hoot of an owl. They set up their base in the main hall, a once grand room, now covered in dust and cobwebs. Chapter 2. Uncovering the Past. David, the historian, began sifting through old records and documents they had found scattered around the orphanage. He discovered that Elmwood had been run by a strict and cruel headmistress, Miss Abernathy, who was notorious for her harsh punishments. Many children had tried to escape, only to meet tragic ends. As David read aloud the grim details, Lily, the medium, felt a cold shiver run down her spine. She sensed a strong presence, particularly in the east wing of the orphanage. "Something terrible happened here," she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Chapter 3. The First Encounter. The team decided to split up to cover more ground. Sarah and Alex headed towards the east wing, while David and Lily explored the west. As Sarah and Alex walked through the dimly lit corridors, they heard faint whispers and the soft giggles of children. Their flashlights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the peeling wallpaper. In one of the rooms, Sarah found an old, tattered diary belonging to a girl named Emily. The last entry detailed her fear of Miss Abernathy and her plan to escape. As Sarah read, Alex's equipment started picking up high levels of electromagnetic activity. "We're not alone," he muttered, his eyes darting around the room. Chapter 4. The Dark History. Meanwhile, in the West Wing, David and Lily came across the orphanage's infirmary. The beds were still made, as if waiting for patients who would never return. Lily felt a sharp pain in her head and collapsed, overcome by a vision. She saw flashes of children being dragged away, their cries for help echoing in her mind. When she regained consciousness, she described the vision to David. "We need to find where they took the children," she insisted. They hurried back to the main hall to regroup with Sarah and Alex, sharing their findings and deciding to search the basement, which had been locked and boarded up. Chapter 5. The Basement. With a sense of dread, the team pried open the basement door and descended into the darkness. The air was damp and cold, and the smell of decay was overwhelming. As they explored, they found small makeshift cells where the children had been imprisoned. Sarah's camera captured fleeting images of ghostly figures, and Alex's equipment went haywire. Suddenly, they heard the sound of chains rattling and a child's voice crying for help. Following the sound, they discovered a hidden chamber where they found the skeletal remains of the missing children. The sight was too much to bear, and Lily broke down, overwhelmed by the anguish of the trapped spirits. Chapter 6. Confronting the Spirit. Determined to set the spirits free, Lily conducted a seance to communicate with them. As she channeled their pain and sorrow, the spirit of Miss Abernathy manifested, her presence filled with anger and malice. The room grew colder, and the lights flickered violently. Sarah, with newfound courage, confronted the spirit, demanding it to release the children. Miss Abernathy's spirit resisted, but the combined energy of the team and the children's spirits overpowered her. With a final, ear-piercing scream, the malevolent spirit dissipated, and the basement fell silent. Epilogue. As dawn broke, the team emerged from the orphanage, exhausted but relieved. They had captured undeniable evidence of the paranormal, but more importantly, they had freed the trapped spirits of the children. Elmwood Orphanage would remain abandoned, a monument to the cruelty and suffering that had occurred within its walls. Sarah, Alex, David, and Lily returned to their lives, forever changed by the experience. They vowed to continue their work, not just to seek out the paranormal, but to bring peace to those tormented by their pasts. The story of the forgotten orphanage served as a stark reminder of the darkness that can linger in forgotten places, waiting to be uncovered.